Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another tabletop review. Today we're looking at the Venturi ISSC M22 CO2 blowback BB pistol, and this is the tabletop review. So you can see here I have two guns that look very similar. I was fortunate enough to actually be able to buy one of the original ISSC M22s in 22 long rifle version, which is this one right here. And you will notice it is slightly different than this BB replica in a few ways. I'll get into that later, but there are some slight differences because this is a version 1. Glock actually had a little conversation, I'm assuming, with ISSC, asked them to make some slight cosmetic changes because perhaps this version looked a little too much like a Glock. Although if you look at them, they're really not that different. But whatever it is, the ISSC made some changes, and I guess Glock was happy with those changes and allowed them to continue making this gun, at least in 22 long rifle version. But what we have here is the replica of it in a BB version. So it shoots steel BBs, uses CO2 rather than 22 long rifle ammunition. So let's get back to it real quick here. I did want to thank Venturi for providing this pistol, well, the BB version that is, for review. I'm not sure when it's actually available, when they're going to be distributing it, but I don't believe it's actually available for resale right now. Hopefully that happens pretty soon. Now again, it is a replica of the 22 long rifle ISSC M22, which is designed in a very similar fashion to the Glock 17. And again, so much in fact was the first version designed after the Glock that Glock approached ISSC, had them make some changes, and that's why these two look a little bit different. Now I haven't done any shooting tests so far with this gun, with the BB version that is. I have shot the 22 long rifle. I'll show you a little clip of my father shooting that in a little bit, but I'll be making a dedicated shooting video or field test video for the ISSC M22 BB version down the road a little bit here. Now the BB version is made in Taiwan, so that's a little different. The actual 22 long rifle version is made in Austria. ISSC is an Austrian company. Now the BB version does come in this box, this M22 box, right? You can see here different things. 400 velocity, 0.177 caliber BBs, 4.5 millimeter that is, 12 grams CO2, right? On the back, there's some more specifications. Okay, 18 BBs, power source again, right? Metal with synthetic grips, 3.5 inch barrel. We'll get into more of that in a bit, but this is kind of what the gun looks like, the box that is for the gun. You also get a manual with the BB version, okay? Again, more specifications, information, all right? Troubleshooting, how to load it, how to put the CO2 in, right? All that kind of stuff. How to load BBs, problems, troubleshooting problems, jams, safe aiming, all that stuff. More specifications in here for you. And again, on the back, Venturi's information. There's also this little Allen key. This will focus for us. There it is. And it's more than just an Allen key. It actually has this little thing here, and that's for getting at the safety. Okay, you can adjust the safety with it. Looks like you can put on a key ring if you wanted to, but this is the Allen key for the CO2 as well. We'll take a look at that in a bit. All right, let's get into some of the specifications. Again, this is a 4.5 millimeter steel BB pistol. It uses CO2 and has blowback operation. So 12 grams CO2 and almost full blowback. I'm not going to say full blowback because the slide doesn't go back quite as far as the 22 long rifle version, but it's pretty decent. It shoots in single and double action. It also has a 3.5 inch smoothbore barrel. Now mine has a longer barrel because in Canada here, the barrel needs to be 4.14 inches to make it restricted. Otherwise it would be prohibited, and my license doesn't allow me to have prohibited guns. I can only have restricted guns. So that's why my 22 long rifle version has this little extension on it. The gun overall, at least the BB version, is 6.75 inches in total length, and it weighs 1.3 pounds or 590 grams, which is pretty close to the 22 long rifle version, which actually weighs in at 1.5 pounds. Again, the BB version uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges, and it also has an 18 round magazine that holds both the BBs and the CO2. The 22 long rifle version has a 10 round magazine for the 22 long rifle ammunition. Now the BB version shoots at 400 FPS. The 22 long rifle version is going to shoot a lot higher than that, probably closer to 1200. Now both guns have very similar trigger operation, or safety operations I should say, and trigger operation. I'm going to pop the mag real quick here. But you can see here that you have this safety. So that's your first line of safety defense. And then normally this would be a safety as well, but this is actually affixed to the slide. It's molded in. Doesn't work like it would on the other one. Now, if I wanted to lock my trigger, you've got a manual safety here, and I can actually use this Allen key, this little guy, and I can turn that and lock the trigger from being able to shoot, period. So that would basically disable the gun. Now on the real steel version, and I've safety checked this gun several times, there is an actual magazine lock, right? So I can't shoot this gun without the magazine, right? I can shoot it with the magazine in. You also have this safety here, okay, right? And this is basically a single action only gun, okay? You can see that, right? That's basically a hammer, drops a hammer, right? So it's a decocker. And then on this gun again, you have the safety on the trigger just the same as you would on the BB version, okay? So basically the difference is this decocker, okay? You don't really have it on the BB version, right? And of course the magazine safety. So as soon as the magazine's dropped, there's no way you can actually shoot this gun without them, basically without having the magazine in. Okay. Both guns actually have the same rear sight adjustment. Once we focus here, okay, so they have a little screw right there on that side, and that allows for windage adjustment for the actual sights. There is no elevation, but it's kind of the same with this guy here too. You have basically the same sighting system. Let's get them both in there, right? Look at how close that is. These guns are so similar, right? Even that sort of partial cock they have there, right? But just, I'm going to get into it more, but they're so similar, right? Now both guns have metal slides, plastic or polymer frames, and metal magazines. Even this BB version, it's a full metal magazine, pretty much all metal. Even this black part, which on some guns will be plastic, it's all metal, which adds a nice weight to it. You will notice though, magazines are different in size because this one has to hold the CO2. This magazine's only for 22 long rifle, so you can see here the mag wells are quite a bit different, right? But the actual grips are about the same, so that's kind of nice. They pretty much are about the same for hold, which basically keeps everything nice. Now both guns again have the accessory rails. I'll kind of show you around both of these guns a little bit, and a little bit around the BB version, but you'll see because this is the first version, it has more of the Glock style trigger guard, whereas the BB version, which is more like the second version of the ISSC, has the rounded grip or the rounded trigger guard. You also have slightly different styling on the slide, right? You can see how we've got the grooves versus the squares on this one. But if you look at the actual ISSC M22 Austria caliber 22 long rifle, it's really hard to tell which is which, right? The slide catch release is metal on both of these guns. Again, this safety or decocker only functions on the 22 long rifle version, not on the BB version. And again, the grips a little bit different, right? Because Glock wanted to change some things a little bit with the grips here. There's a truck going by, but you can see it's slightly different, right? Okay. Slightly different slide finishing, right, to make it less Glock-ish. But let's just take a look up close at this gun just so you can see how good it really looks. Do you have some warning instructions? These would be normally for your takedown to field strip this gun, but I can't really field strip it, not easily anyways. I haven't figured out a way to do that. Okay, you have your rail again. Here's your trigger, right? Read manual before use, which is on both of them, right? You got it on both. So a lot of stuff is really the same, right? This would say made in Austria on this one, but it's not made in Austria, so we have slightly different, just the caliber there, the German markings, okay? But you do have your ISSC licensing, again your magwell, right? And what's kind of cool is this is a little spring, you can see that, but it's like a spring that helps to push out the magazine. So when I actually, it comes out, most of them just drop out. This one actually has a bit of springiness because of this guy right here, pushes the mag out, which is really cool. Again, blowback operation, almost full blowback, not quite. See on the real steel version, it does go back a little further, okay, a little further, but pretty decent. Obviously the slide spring is not going to be as heavy as the real steel version, right? But that's to be expected, okay? Everything else pretty much operates identically. Slide catch release, all the same, other than the basically the safety here, right? The decocker. Everything else is pretty much identical. Now this one does have some CO2 in it, no BBs, so I will just give you a little taste test here. Okay, hopefully that gives you an idea. Pretty cool, right? Lots of pretty decent blowback. I'm looking forward to shooting this gun. I haven't shot it, but I am really looking forward to shooting it. At this point, since I haven't shot anything for you, I thought I'd just take you really quickly to my footage that I have of my father shooting the 22 or the ISSC M22. So he did a little shooting for you. It's not super long, but I thought I'd share that with you now. Sure. Good, yeah. All right, let's get into some of the pros and the cons for the Venturi ISSC M22 CO2 blowback BB pistol. First of all, it's a really great overall replica of the real steel 22 long rifle ISSC M22. All the metal and plastic parts are all in the same places as the original for the most part. And again, it has pretty much full blowback, almost full blowback operation, which gives it that single action trigger. Now the BB version does shoot in both single and double action, so that is a little different, but still you can shoot in single action when the blowback operation is functioning. It does have that full-size dropout metal magazine that holds the CO2 and the BBs. And almost all of the mechanical parts work exactly the same as the 22 long rifle version with the exception of the decocker safety. It is again ISSC M22 licensed, and it does have that adjustable rear sight for windage. It also has an accessory rail for add-ons if you want to add a tactical light or laser. And I have to say it's one of the closest 4.5mm steel BB pistols to a Glock that we have available to us at this point. All right, a couple cons. It doesn't seem to field strip all that easy. At least I couldn't figure it out. It doesn't field strip the same way the real steel version does. Perhaps I have to take a pin out or something to do it, but I'm sure you can take this gun apart one way or another. Now the slide safety or decocker is molded into the slide and non-functioning on the BB version, so that is pretty much the only thing that isn't true to the real steel gun. Alright, that wraps up this tabletop review of the Venturi ISSC M22 CO2 blowback BB pistol. Make sure to check back for my shooting video or field test video down the road a bit. Also come on down to replicairguns.com where we have more articles, posts, and reviews. I'll even have some additional photos in my written blog for this video. And of course we have our Canada and US online replica airgun stores where we sell BB guns, pellet guns, blank guns, airsoft guns, knives, and other accessories, and hopefully this gun shortly too when it's available. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.